Guys of Reddit, when did it hit you? This is the woman I want to marry? Was it something huge? Or something small that meant everything? I knew I wanted to marry her the night she bled on my hoodie. We'd been dating for maybe 6 months, still in that sweet spot of constant texting and trying too hard to impress each other. She came over to my place one night with a stack of rom-com DVDs, an oversized hoodie I loaned her, and a craving for greasy pepperoni pizza. Everything was perfect. We curled up on the couch and she snuggled into me like she always did, totally relaxed. Halfway through the movie, she shifted weirdly and froze. Then she whispered, "Oh my God," and bolted upright. I had no idea what happened until I saw the look on her face, total horror. She tugged off the hoodie and held it up like it had personally betrayed her. There was a red stain on the inside and down the back, and she just kept apologizing. Like full-blown panic mode. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know, I didn't feel it. I'll clean it, I'll buy you a new one, I swear, I didn't mean to." I stopped her. Told her it was just a hoodie. That she wasn't the first woman to get ambushed by her uterus. I made us pizza while she changed into some of my gym shorts and sulked at the table like a kid who'd spilled grape juice on the carpet. We ended up laughing about it. I threw the hoodie in the wash twice and it came out fine. But the way she looked at me when I didn't flinch, didn't make it weird, didn't tease her or act grossed out. I think that's when she realized I was all in too. And that was the moment I thought, yeah, I could see myself eating pizza with this woman for the rest of my life. Maybe even doing laundry together. It hit me in the stupidest place possible, an elevator. We were in a hotel in Chicago for a weekend getaway. Fancy place, high-rise, skyline view, the works. We just come back from dinner, laughing about something dumb I said, when the elevator jerked between the 14th and 15th floors and stopped cold. The lights stayed on, but the buttons didn't work. No one answered the emergency call. She looked at me, wide-eyed, and said, "Well, I guess we live here now." No panic. No drama. She just plopped down on the floor in her heels, pulled a pack of gum from her purse like we were waiting for a bus, and started making shadow puppets with the overhead light. I was trying not to lose my mind, but she made it fun. We told stories, real ones, not small talk. She told me about the time she peed her pants in 4th grade and still blamed it on the drinking fountain. I told her how I cried watching Finding Nemo as a teenager and lied to my little cousins that I had something in my eye. 3 hours we sat in that tiny box. No phone service, no clue when we get out. But I remember thinking, if this is what being stuck feels like, I don't mind it with her. When the doors finally opened and a sweaty maintenance guy helped us out, she dusted off her dress, looked at me, and said, "Well, that was romantic." And it kind of was. That night, lying beside her in the too fluffy hotel bed, I stared at the ceiling and thought. She didn't just stay calm, she made it feel like an adventure. Like something worth remembering. That's when I knew. If I was going to be trapped in anything for the rest of my life, I wanted it to be with her. It was just a backpack. And some snacks. But it wrecked me. I was heading into a brutal day, back-to-back meetings, presentations, and a client dinner that was going to stretch into the night. I hadn't even realized how stressed I was until I woke up late, already behind, and barely had time to throw on a shirt. As I rushed out the door, my girlfriend handed me my backpack and kissed my cheek. "Good luck today," she said like she always did. Nothing unusual. But when I got to the office, I opened the bag to grab my laptop and found it packed like a care package. Protein bars. Trail mix. A banana wrapped in paper towel. One of those little electrolyte drink mixes I'd only mentioned liking once. And a note folded neatly on top. It said, "You've got this. Don't forget to eat. Proud of you." That was it. Just a few words in her messy, loopy handwriting. But I sat there at my desk in my overpriced office chair and choked up like a complete idiot. Because no one had ever done that for me. Not once. People always say love is grand gestures and big speeches. But it was this, remembering the dumb banana I liked, packing a snack so I wouldn't run on fumes all day, taking 5 minutes out of her morning to make sure I felt supported. That's when it hit me, this is what being loved looks like. And I wanted to return that love every single day. Not just for now. Not until things got hard. But for life. All because of a damn banana. She has the worst singing voice I've ever heard. I mean, it's not just bad, it's spectacularly off-key. Like a cat in a blender kind of bad. And the funny thing is, she loves to sing. Especially in the shower. At first, I thought it was a joke. The first morning she stayed over, I was brushing my teeth when I heard her belt out Adele's "Someone Like You" with the confidence of a Grammy winner and the pitch of a broken smoke alarm. I couldn't stop laughing. But the thing is, she meant it. She was giving it her all, holding long notes, throwing in vibrato like she was on stage. She didn't care that she was tone deaf. She didn't care that I was listening. And in that moment, hearing her so completely herself, I just stood there, toothbrush hanging out of my mouth, and thought, this is the person I want to wake up next to for the rest of my life. Not because she's a good singer, clearly not, but because she didn't need to be. She was just free. She made our little apartment feel like a concert hall, a safe space, a home. She never asked, do I sound bad, or tried to hide it. She just was. And I loved that. I loved that she could be silly without shame. That she'd open her lungs and heart even if it was off-key. Now, whenever I hear her sing badly in the morning, usually show tunes or whatever sad girl indie song is trending, I smile. Every time. That voice? It's the sound of my forever. I'd never had a panic attack before. Not one that I could recognize anyway. I always brushed it off as stress or lack of sleep. But that night, everything came crashing in: tight chest, racing heart, hands shaking like I was freezing though the room was warm. She found me sitting on the floor of my apartment, back against the kitchen cabinets, hyperventilating. I couldn't even look at her. I felt like a failure, weak, broken, embarrassing. She didn't freak out. Didn't bombard me with questions or tell me to calm down. She just sat down next to me. No words, no noise. Just presence. She reached for my hand slowly, gave me space, and when I didn't pull away, she wrapped her fingers around mine and rubbed her thumb in small circles. After a while, when I could finally breathe again, she said, do you want to talk, or should I just sit here with you? That's when I knew. I dated girls before who panicked when I got quiet. Who took my bad days personally or tried to fix me. But this, her just being there, calm, steady, it was like a lighthouse cutting through a storm. The next day, she sent me links to a few anxiety resources and even looked up therapists in my area. She didn't push, didn't lecture. Just showed me that she wasn't going anywhere. I didn't fall in love with her in that moment. I was already in love. But that night, on the kitchen floor, I realized I wanted her by my side forever. Not because she saved me, but because she didn't try to. She just let me be human and loved me anyway. When my best friend died, I didn't want to talk to anyone. Not my parents. Not my coworkers. Not even her. He was like a brother to me. We met in second grade, played on the same basketball team, went to college together. Then a car crash took him out in one of those blink and it's gone moments. The night I found out, she came over. I was curled up on the couch in an old hoodie, TV flickering on some dumb channel I wasn't watching. She walked in, quietly took off her coat, sat down beside me and didn't say a word. She didn't ask how I was doing. She didn't say he's in a better place. She didn't offer advice or try to cheer me up. She just sat there. One hand on my leg. Just enough pressure to remind me I wasn't alone. After a while, I leaned into her shoulder. She wrapped her arms around me like she'd been waiting for that exact moment. And still, no words. We sat like that for hours. That was the night I knew I wanted to marry her. Because love isn't just about knowing what to say. It's about knowing when to say nothing at all. I'd been surrounded by people trying to make things better. But she was the only one who didn't try to fix my grief. She just honored it. Let it sit. Let me sit in it. And in that silence, I felt more understood than I ever had before. I didn't need comfort food or empty condolences. I just needed someone who would sit on a cold couch and hold space for me. And that's exactly what she did. I hadn't spoken to my father in 5 years. We had a big falling out over something stupid: politics, pride, who knows what. It started as silence, turned into stubbornness, and calcified into years. By the time I met her, the subject of my dad was a locked drawer I didn't open. But she noticed. She asked little things gently over time. And when I finally told her, her eyes softened and she said, "That must be hard." No judgment, just empathy. Then, without telling me, she found his number. He lived 2 states over. She called him the week before my birthday. Told him she didn't expect anything, but she thought I missed him, even if I wouldn't say it. Told him that he didn't have to fix everything. Just show up. On my birthday, we were at this backyard barbecue she had organized. Friends, burgers, corny decorations. I was flipping hot dogs on the grill when I saw a figure walking up the driveway. Gray hair, familiar walk, same stubborn eyes as mine. It was my dad. I froze. He looked just as nervous as I felt. Held out a six-pack and said, "Figured I owed you a beer." We didn't have a tearful reunion or long talk that day, but we talked. We sat, cracked open beers, and laughed about old movies. It was awkward and beautiful. Later that night, after everyone left, I looked at her. She shrugged like it was no big deal. "You two are more alike than you think," she said. That's when I knew. She didn't just care about me. She cared about my life. About the broken parts one didn't know how to fix. I want to marry the woman who brought my father back into my life. Because she didn't just love the man I am. She saw who I could still become. My dog Max is a 14-year-old lab mix with a heart of gold and hips made of paper. He's been my shadow since college through breakups, layoffs, and everything in between. One night, around 3 a.m., I woke up to him whimpering by the door, breathing hard. He couldn't stand up. His legs kept buckling and his eyes were glassy. I honestly thought he was dying. I panicked. I started pacing the room, not knowing whether to call someone or just cry. My girlfriend, who had only been staying over for a few weeks at that point, shot out of bed, wide awake in an instant. She didn't ask me what I wanted to do. She grabbed her hoodie, her keys, and said, "We're going to the vet. Now." No complaints. No hesitation. No makeup, no shoes, just barefoot in a hoodie, scooping up a 70-pound dog with me and loading him into the car like she'd done it 100 times. At the emergency clinic, she sat next to me while I filled out paperwork with shaking hands. She held Max's paw when they took his vitals. And when the vet said it was a pain flare-up, not something fatal, she exhaled with me like she'd known him her whole life. We didn't get home until almost 6 a.m. She tucked Max into his bed like he was a toddler, kissed him on the forehead, and then crawled back into mine. I laid there next to her, watching her fall asleep, and realized something simple and devastatingly clear. She didn't love Max just because I did. She chose to love him. That night, I saw how she'd be as a mom, as a partner, as someone who shows up when everything feels like it's falling apart. And I knew this is the woman I want beside me for every 3 a.m. emergency life throws at us. It was a dumb commercial. Just one of those feel-good insurance ads with a dad teaching his daughter how to drive. They showed her growing up from struggling to reach the pedals to finally driving alone while he watched from the driveway with that proud dad smile. I looked over at her and she was crying. Not sobbing. Just quiet tears running down her cheeks, hands clasped in her lap. I reached for the remote, thinking something had triggered her, maybe a memory or some personal story. But when I asked if she was okay, she just smiled and said, "I hope you get to do that someday." That was it. And something about it hit me harder than I expected. She wasn't just picturing any father-daughter moment, she was picturing me. In the driveway. Letting go. Watching some tiny version of us pull away for the first time. I didn't even know I wanted kids until that moment. Not seriously. But the way she said it, like it was so obvious, like she already saw that future, it broke me open in the best way. She saw me as someone who could be that kind of father. Who could love and guide and protect. And for the first time, I wanted to live up to it. Not just because she believed in me, but because I wanted to build that driveway with her. Sometimes love doesn't arrive in fireworks or grand confessions. Sometimes it sneaks in through a 30-second commercial and the sound of someone quietly crying next to you on the couch. And that was the moment I realized this is the woman I want to grow old with. It was such a small thing, but it told me everything I needed to know. I'd been burning the candle at both ends for weeks, late nights at work, stress piling up, barely functioning. The night before a big deadline, I came home completely wrecked. Eye stinging, legs like sandbags, brain fried. She was already at my place, waiting with dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and garlic bread. I sat down to eat, thinking I'd push through and maybe catch a second wind. I didn't even finish the plate. I passed out on the couch mid-bite. I don't remember lying down. I don't remember saying goodnight. But I do remember waking up the next morning, fully dressed under a blanket. I didn't remember pulling over myself. The house smelled like coffee. My alarm was set. My laptop had been plugged in. And next to it was a little sticky note that said, "Kick ass today. I'm proud of you." She didn't complain that I'd fallen asleep during dinner. She didn't wake me up for quality time. She didn't make it about her at all. She just let me sleep. It sounds like nothing, right? But I've been in relationships where exhaustion was seen as a lack of interest, where rest was guilt-tripped, where being tired was not showing enough effort. But she knew. She knew I didn't need a pep talk or a fight. I just needed to crash. And she made sure I did it safely, warmly, and without shame. That was the moment I knew she was my person. Because love isn't just about passion or sparks. It's about knowing when to be still. And when someone lets you sleep without needing anything in return, that's home. My mom has early onset dementia. It started with little things, misplacing keys, repeating stories. But within 2 years, she couldn't remember how to work the oven. Then came the days she forgot who I was. Watching her slip away while still breathing, there's no preparing for that. Most people don't know how to handle it. Friends stopped visiting. Even some of my extended family pulled back. It was too heavy, too awkward. But not her. The first time I brought my girlfriend over to meet my mom, I was nervous. I'd warned her, said she might call her by the wrong name or ask the same question 20 times. I expected polite smiles and stiff hugs. Instead, she brought banana bread. My mom's favorite. She sat beside her on the couch, asked about her old garden, and didn't flinch when Mom repeated the same tulip story 3 times in a row. She laughed every time. Like it was brand new. After that, she came with me on errands. Brought puzzles they could do together. She even learned how to make Mom's childhood recipes from a stained old notebook we found in the attic. One day, I came home from work and found them dancing in the living room, Mom in her robe, my girlfriend holding the speaker, both swaying to Elvis. My mom looked happy. That's when it hit me. This woman didn't just tolerate my mom's condition, she honored it. She saw the person inside the disease. She didn't do it for praise or because she felt obligated. She did it because that's who she is, gentle, present, deeply kind. I always thought I wanted to marry someone because of how they loved me. But I knew I wanted to marry her because of how she loved my mom. I forgot our anniversary. Not our wedding anniversary or anything, just the day we officially started dating. The kind of thing people celebrate with a cute dinner or an Instagram post. It completely slipped my mind. Work had been chaos, I was surviving on vending machine coffee and stress dreams, and when the day came, I didn't even realize it until I got home and saw the candles on the table. She'd cooked. Not takeout, not a frozen pizza, cooked. Her hair was done, she was wearing the sweater I once said made her look like autumn, and there I was in my wrinkled button-down, holding a bag of groceries and a face full of guilt. I opened my mouth to say something, an apology, a scramble, anything. She just smiled and said, "Rough day?" I nodded. "I'm so sorry. I forgot." She set down the wine bottle and walked over to me. Kissed my cheek and said, "That's okay. I remembered enough for both of us." We ate by candlelight. She didn't bring it up again. No passive-aggressive jabs. No cold shoulders. Just comfort, laughter, and lasagna. That night, after she fell asleep on my chest, I stared at the ceiling, completely humbled. I'd dated women before who'd turned small things into landmines, who would have made the rest of the week a guilt trip. But not her. She didn't want a performance. She didn't need a grand gesture. She just wanted to love me and be loved in return, even if I messed up sometimes. And that's when it really sank in. This wasn't a girlfriend trying to win a point. This was a partner. The kind of woman who chooses grace over drama. The kind of woman I want by my side for every forgotten date and remembered moment in between. We had our first real fight 6 months into dating. Not a bicker, not a disagreement, an actual, raised voices, tense silence, go sleep on it kind of fight. It started over something small, me canceling dinner with her parents last minute because I got too busy with work. But it wasn't really about the dinner. It was about a pattern. She sat across from me on the couch, face flushed, eyes filled with frustration. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't crying. She was just done pretending it didn't bother her. "You say family matters," she said, "but you treat mine like an inconvenience." It hit me like a slap, not because she was wrong, but because she was so right. I opened my mouth to defend myself, to say I was tired, to make excuses. But she stopped me with one sentence. "I don't want to be with someone who checks out when it's inconvenient to care." She wasn't cruel. She wasn't throwing low blows or trying to win. She was calm, direct, and heartbreakingly honest. That's what shook me. Most fights I'd had in past relationships turned into screaming matches or emotional power plays. But this was a woman drawing a boundary. She wasn't threatening to leave. She was telling me who she was and what she needed. And that night, after she left to cool off at her sister's, I sat in my empty living room, staring at the wall, and thinking, if I lose her over this, I deserve it. She came back the next day. I apologized. I meant it. And she didn't gloat. She just said, thank you for hearing me. That's when I knew. I didn't want to marry someone who let me coast. I wanted to marry someone who challenged me to grow, who held me accountable with love. She fought for us, not against me. And I've never respected anyone more. We got caught in a hurricane on our first real trip together. It was supposed to be a romantic long weekend in Florida, sun, seafood, and sand. We checked the weather before flying out, but forecasts said the storm would veer off. It didn't. Instead, we ended up in a second-floor motel room with no power, no running water, and a sad little emergency kit the front desk handed out like a party favor. The roof leaked. The AC died. The only food we had was peanut butter packets and a half-squished bag of chips. And she laughed. Not nervous giggles or sarcastic scoffs, real, belly-deep laughter. She held a flashlight under her chin and did dramatic ghost voices. Made up fake storm names like Hurricane Susan, who just needs to calm down. Turned our soggy blanket into a superhero cape. At one point, I was crouched under a dripping ceiling tile trying to save our backpacks, grumbling about refunds and travel insurance. She walked over, kissed my forehead, and said, "You're cute when you're trying to control the weather." I burst out laughing. Couldn't help it. That night, we sat cross-legged on the bed, sharing warm water from a Gatorade bottle and playing 20 questions in the dark. It was the worst trip I'd ever taken and the most memorable night of my life. Because in the middle of literal chaos, she wasn't scared. She wasn't blaming me or wishing she were somewhere else. She made it an adventure. That's when I knew. Life isn't sunshine all the time. Sometimes it's peanut butter for dinner and thunder shaking the windows. And if I had to weather every storm with someone, I wanted it to be with the woman who laughed through a hurricane and made it feel like home. My grandfather is the toughest man I know. Navy vet, old-school stoic, never cried at funerals. The kind of guy who calls emotions nonsense and eats toast without butter because it's cheaper that way. So when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, it hit us hard. His hands shook, his legs weakened, but he still insisted on wearing a button-down to breakfast and mowing the lawn, even if it took him twice as long. When I brought my girlfriend home to meet the family, I was nervous. Grandpa's not exactly warm with strangers, and she's the kind of person who hugs everyone and cries during dog food commercials. At dinner, she was her usual self, friendly, thoughtful, asked Grandpa about his old Navy days. He gave his usual gruff answers, half shrugs, minimal eye contact. After dessert, someone put on a playlist of old big band music, the kind Grandpa used to love. He sat in his recliner, tapping one finger on the armrest. That's when she walked over. "May I have this dance?" she asked him, smiling like it was the most natural thing in the world. He chuckled, waved her off. "I don't dance anymore, sweetheart." But she didn't budge. She knelt beside his chair, took his hand gently, and said, "Then we'll just sway." She helped him up slowly. One hand on her shoulder, one hand in hers. And there they were, moving ever so slightly to Glenn Miller, both smiling, both quiet. I swear the whole room stopped breathing. When the song ended, Grandpa kissed her hand and whispered, "Thank you." His eyes were wet. And mine were, too. That's the moment I knew. She didn't do it for show. She didn't need applause. She saw my grandfather, the man inside the illness, and gave him one more dance. If she could love my family like that, I knew she'd love our family just as fiercely. And I wanted to start that family with her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and drop a comment below. When did you understand you wanted to marry her? We'd love to hear your story.